Thursday, December 11th, 2003. We're here in Sterling Heights, Michigan at Shorehaven Manor with Roseanne Cromie, a World War II veteran. Joe Ramoge is doing the videotaping today. My name is Sue Kearney. I'm from RSVP of Macomb, the Retired and Senior Volunteer Program, and I'll be conducting today's interview with Roseanne. Roseanne was in the Marines during World War II, and she served from 1942 to 1944. Good afternoon, Roseanne.
Good afternoon.
And I'm going to start out by saying I know you weren't drafted because women were not drafted during the Second World War. Can you tell us how it came that you joined the Marines?
Yes, I was going to go into the Navy because my brother had gone in, so I thought I'd join them, the Waves. And I was president of our Ultra Society, so I called them all over to the house to tell them that I was going to resign. They said, well, what are you going to do? My boyfriend was overseas. I said, well, I'm going to go into the Waves. And this other girl pops up and she said, well, Roseanne, I'm going into the Marines. I said, the Marines? I never heard of them. But Alice, if you're going in the Marines, I'll go in the Marines with you. So that's what happened. So on March the 25th, there were 10 women. We were the first women from Detroit to go into the Women Marines. Our picture was in the Detroit News and so on. We were at Michigan Central Depot, that's where we were. Now the porter took all our luggage as we came in. We were told to have 5 weeks' clothes. And because we couldn't get a uniform, they didn't have the uniforms ready yet. So that meant carrying quite a bit of luggage. Well, we had a nice trip to New York City on the train, and when we got there, a woman Marine officer met us, and she said, now everybody pick up your luggage. So everybody picked up their heavy luggage. One girl had a wardrobe bag that was like this. She tried to just pull it along. But anyhow, that was quite an experience. That was our introduction into the Marine Corps.
Now, can I ask you a question,
Yes.
Rose? It was rather unusual, wasn't it, at that time for women to be going into the service? What made you want to go into the service at all?
Well, because I had worked at Sears for 7 years in auditing, and I was tired of everything. And all my friends, either they'd gotten married and gotten pregnant, so they were all busy, and I didn't have anybody to pal around with. And the bowling group dropped off because so many had gone to follow their husbands and so on. So, my brother went in January of 43, and you said 42. I went in 43.
Oh, in 43.
But I stayed until 45 because the atomic bomb did not go off until August of 45. And that's what made all the big difference in everybody's lives at that time. So that was why I really went in, I thought, well, I'll go in the Waves. But I hadn't been down to get any information, I was just going to do it. So anyhow, I ended up going in, and we were sworn in together, and as I say, we took the train to New York City. So they put us on buses. We didn't have any idea where we were in New York, where we were going. Nobody told us anything. We just went. And we pull up in front of apartment houses. If you know anything about New York, I found this out later, that there are oodles of apartment buildings. People live in them all year. I mean, that's their life. They don't ever go into a home. Well, the Navy took over these apartment buildings and converted them all for the Women Marines. And I'd say there were probably 10 floors in them. And they would take like one room and make that the shower room. They had all, so there was a lot of work to be done to get it ready for us. There were 6 girls in a room. We had double bunks, and so we were there for 5 weeks.
Was that your basic training then?
That was our basic training, yes. Now, we marched to Hunter College, which we found out was just down the street, and that's where we had all our classes. I can't even think of the different classes that we had, but I had pictures and I didn't have them in my apartment to bring them. But Hunter College is a beautiful college. There are 4 buildings and they're huge. And so we were assigned to different rooms in these buildings for different classes. Then we went to the armory for drilling, because this was March and it was raining, and April was raining. I had a raincoat and there was nothing left to it by the time I got through those 5 weeks. So, on our papers you have to fill out where would you like to go, what would you like to do, and this and that. Well, I wanted to go to California. I've never been there, I want to go to California. Well, I got sent to Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, which I found out, I hadn't really read this whole book about it, but it's the largest in the world. If you hear about Camp Lejeune, the last hurricane came through there. I was kind of concerned. I watched it on the map to see just how close it was going to be, and it did hit part of it. That's the first time I think that they've ever had a hurricane problem. There were 144 of us on the train going from New York down to North Carolina. So the train pulls right into the camp, and here the male Marines are standing whistling. They hadn't seen the women Marines yet. But of course we didn't have uniforms yet. So that was quite an experience and something to make you laugh about. We went to an area, and I have down here, it was at the end, there were 5 areas in Camp Lejeune, and we were in number 5. So we were at the very other end, extreme end of the camp. The Naval Hospital was down the road. We met a lot of Marines that came back and were in I never went to the hospital, but I heard about it and so anyhow. So we had our own mess hall, we had our own PX, we had our own theater.
You mean the women had their own, so you were totally separate?
The camp is so big that they have built it that way, and I suppose that whoever was in there before, they just moved them out and sent them some other place, or to maybe overseas even at that point. And so I think we all went in because we were given the name Free a Marine to Fight, and that's exactly what we did. I just wanted to show the first picture. This woman was a lieutenant colonel, and she was the first woman to be picked out to head the women Marines. And she was in for quite a few years. In fact, up until 45, she was still the head of it. And she has a remarkable history behind her. All that she was involved in, the soldiers, the different veterans organizations, and it wasn't only in New Jersey, it was all over the different states. So she was well equipped, that's not a very good word, educated, I'll say, to join it. These are different, oh, there goes my hat. Well, I have this hat. I borrowed this hat for Armistice Day because we had a doings here. They presented a flag to Shorehaven Manor, and it was very interesting and it went very well. And I called up, I had given my own uniform to the Historical Society in New Baltimore, where I used I called the recruiting office and I got in touch with the Sergeant Women Marine and she brought it over to me to use. So when I walked into the dining room and through with the rest of the people, the other veterans, there's another woman in the building that she was in the weights. So everybody was quite surprised because I hadn't told very many people I was in the Marine. So this hat really stuck out. And so...
Is that the same type of hat that you wore when you were actually
yes.
in the Marines?
Yes. Do you like me to put
Certainly,
it on?
put it on.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that looks
sharp.
nice.
We got our uniforms just before Easter that year. And we, some of the girls went down and they were in the Easter parade. And so it was quite a thrill to see the Women Marines were in the Easter parade on Fifth Avenue in that year. So anyhow, as I started to say here, where am I? Oh, we marched under college and then to the armory for drilling because that was a very important activity for the Women Marines. Of course, we had men drill instructors, and they would tell us, you know, to march, and we'd wind up right to a fence. They would do it purposely for us to see what was going to happen. They put a lot of tricks on it.
So we always hear stories about drill instructors being tough. Were they just as tough on the women?
Yes, ma'am. I think even more so. At least in the beginning. I think afterwards they kind of got used to a woman language rather than what they had had before. But it was interesting. Okay, here we go. 144 of us went to Camp Lejeune. We were all assigned to different schooling. And I was sent to the quartermaster's school, which I enjoyed because I'd had auditing at Sears. And I was very happy. After that, I was sent to the civilian payroll department to work. And then the Marine colonel that was of the quartermaster department selected 2 of us to go to officers training. We were the first group that were enlisted to go in for officers training. Excuse me. So that was very interesting.
Where was the officers' training
Right
school?
in Camp Lejeune, and they had the area put out for us and so on.
Did you go to the officers' training with the men?
No,
This was
just
the
all
women
women. All women. I should have marked some of these pages down. This shows, or as I said, some of them were doing different things. Now these girls were putting parachutes together up at Chapel Hill. Some got into motor transport and were driving the Jeeps and the other vehicles around. I was, after I got my commission for a second lieutenant, I was assigned to Camp Lejeune dispersing office. That's how much I ended up staying there. I worked for a captain, and I relieved a warrant officer as soon as I went in. And I took over the billing department. We paid all the bills on the camp. Then I went into the civilian payroll. I had 600 checks to sign every other week because it was for the civilian payroll. Then I relieved another male lieutenant. They shipped out right away to go out in the Pacific. And I was in charge of the cash department. Now, I had several girls, not several, I had quite a few girls this is a picture of me with the captain and all the girls that work for me.
Now, which one is you?
The captain is the one that is seated down. He's the only man.
And he was your boss?
He was my boss. And I was the only woman officer. And all the girls were either privates or first class or corporals. I think I had one sergeant. She was a real terrific gal. Because we had a lot of money coming in. We had money from the PX, the commissary, the laundry, any activity on anything that had money came through us. So the girls had to do all the checking as it came in. And
Can you point out you in that picture?
Yes. I'm right on this corner here.
You're on the end here?
Right on this corner. There I am. It doesn't look like me today. But we had, the girls were very good. I didn't have any problems with them. We did have problems with when we first got to Camp Lejeune. Some of these 18-year-old girls had never been away from home before, and they'd sneak out. We were supposed to be in at 10 o'clock, and they'd sneak out and meet the guides and all this and that. And they caused problems for themselves because of that wasn't the right thing to do. But anyhow, we had, like I say, I was very proud of the girls, and they worked hard. I'm sure none of them would have ever said sorry they went in. I never heard any complaints of, oh, I don't like this, I want to get out, or anything, nothing. We had a lot of activities. The officers had a pool up by the officers' club, but the enlisted, the only pool they had was an inside pool. But the girls would go there at night and so on. So that kept them busy. And on Saturday and Sunday, they had a bus that would take us over to the ocean. And because that was just around the corner, really, from where we were. We were on what they call New River, the low river that comes in off the ocean. Then the intercoastal runs this way, and that's where a lot of the boats, the Marines trained, was on the landing, I'm trying to think of the word, landing barges. Mm-hmm. You see the pictures where the boys, the thing goes down and then the fellows all get off. Well, they have to learn how to do that, and so on. But when you see them today, I was thinking about it last night, what a difference there is of the way things were in World War II compared with what they have today over in Iraq. Now, I met a Marine who had been on the island of Midway when it was bombed. And, oh my goodness, Midway is just a very small island. But they came in, the boys, of course, none of them expected it. And, because that was shortly after Pearl Harbor, I don't remember what, I should check it out. But anyhow, the boys, of course, all ran for their own guns. But these planes were coming in. They had no, what do they call them, missiles like they have now to shoot up to the airplanes. And so they didn't have anything. So they really, it was a very sad day for all of them. And a lot of the Marines, of course, had to come back and go to the hospital for months before they got well enough to go back to duty. Then what I wanted to say about this, the difference between World War II and the Iraq War. My boyfriend at the time, and I think I gave you his write-up on him. He went in July of '42 after Pearl Harbor, And he went in June, and in July he called me. He was going overseas. They didn't know where. They didn't know anything. They got onto an old converted freighter, and that's what they were on for 30 days. They didn't know where they were in the Pacific. And of course, everybody was afraid. You never knew what was coming over you. They landed in New Caledonia. And New Caledonia is quite a long island. It's just north of New Zealand. But there's coral all around the island, so that you can't walk any places there or get into the water. But in Noumea, which is the only big city, they have a dock out where they could bring the boats up to them, and the soldiers got off of them. But they had no equipment, jeeps or trucks. Well, I see these big things now getting off those airplanes, those cargo planes, and all that they carry them to build bridges and everything else. They didn't have anything like that. They had to use the boats and bring all that over. They didn't look, when they got in there, it was just all open area. And they finally found out they were to build an airport there, an air base. I have a picture here of all the men now, he didn't have a date on this, but it shows you some idea of the number of men that were into this air base. As I say, there was nothing around there at all, just all. When they got there, they slept in pup tents, and they had mosquito netting over them at night because the bugs were so bad. Well, eventually they built barracks, and of course they got more equipment. My husband got to be a staff sergeant, and he had his own jeep. He was in charge of communications. So I was thinking, I said, imagine how many wires that they had to bring in to get all this equipment going. They had a mess hall, but imagine how much that takes to build it and get it all started, all the food to come over. I was just amazed. I guess I really hadn't thought about it too much before.
Now he was your boyfriend at the time, and he was there, and then you later married him?
He came back after 3 years, in 44, and we became engaged because we was, so we were married in April of 1945. And it was just a week after President Roosevelt died. And we were very happy that it wasn't that week, because I never could have gotten in and out of Washington with the funeral going on. Then in August was the atomic bomb, and finally the Japanese gave in, and so we were all just, being one of the first ones to go in, I had a lot of points, so I wanted to get out, and so I got a replacement because I couldn't, naturally they still had to keep, the whole camp had to keep going.
Sure.
But then I came home.
So you were married while you were still active, and your husband was still active.
That's right.
So, and you went back to Camp Lejeune, and where did your husband go after you were married?
Oh, he went down to Mississippi. I don't even remember the name of the camp now, but I have a couple pictures here.
So you were separated then, right after you were married?
Yes, this is what I look like.
That's great.
Yeah. Then there's another story I would like to mention.
Sure.
My father was a chief engineer on the freighter that goes up down the Detroit River, Lake Huron, Lake Michigan. Well, along in the war, and the Coast Guard took over all the boats, and all the chief engineers, and the captains had to wear uniforms. So my father, this is my father, and me. He died 2 days later of a heart attack. So this is very precious to all of us, just 2 days before.
And how did your parents feel about you going into the service?
Oh, my mother, so many, did you know how much to go? I said, I didn't ask her if I could go. I was 25. I could do what I wanted to do. And I never thought of any harm. I think the only time there was harm was when the girls were in these jeeps and on the wild trips and get thrown off and killed and so on. But other than that, and of course when I got to be an officer, my father was very happy and proud of me.
I'm sure.
As you can see the way we were in that picture. So, now, talking about World War II, I'm sure anybody that hears and sees this video will know that there is a monument being built in Washington, D.C. It's not too far from the Vietnam Wall. Senator Robert Cole was the instigator of it and has done a lot of pushing, I'll say, all over the different states to get people to donate. So they've got quite a bit, and it's going to be beautiful. Now,
And this is a monument for the women?
No, this is for all World War II.
Oh, World War II.
Now, there is a new memorial for the women, not women Marines, all women.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen it because I haven't been able to go there, but it was just completed about 4 years ago. And I'll have to ask Julia to see it. I don't think she's ever been there either. But what you're collecting now, they wanted from all of us. What we did, where we were sent, and so on. Mm-hmm. And that is in a record. I assume from what I've seen. When you go in, you'll look for a certain person. Okay, there's a tab that will show you where that person was, where they worked or whatever they did in the service. Because I should know, I should have gotten more information. How many women there really were. I think there were like 100,000 women Marines.
Really? Wow.
And of course that takes in quite a few years. I think now, if they get one a month or that they can even talk to, it's very hard for these young kids to decide what to do. Mm-hmm. I have a grandson, 18, and he thought he knew just what he wanted to do. He went up to Michigan Tech, and he was, gung-ho, that was going to be it. Boom. I want to come home, I don't like it. His dad said, you stay there for the end of the semester, and then we'll talk. But that's what I think they're finding with the young people going into the service would be the same idea. Mm-hmm. I want to, but I don't know if I want to go in.
But of course it was different back.
Oh, yes.
When you were in the service.
Well, this is what people don't understand with the war with Iraq. If we weren't over there, they could certainly be over here hitting us. Mm-hmm. And I don't usually talk too much about it because I don't like to express myself as a Marine the way I feel about it. But I've heard other people come out with that, and I think that's a nice way of putting it. Right or wrong, if the president at the time was his views of what was happening over there, and whatever, that's over with. But we're there, and we're trying to do our best to take care of it. Now, in closing, I don't know, I wasn't watching time,
Oh, no, we got
and
Ganya.
I tell you, well, we had 3 children, 2 boys and a girl. When I both finished high school, he was drafted, and he went to Germany for a year. He was in motor transport and loved it. He likes anything with cars with an engine. Anyhow, he was there for a year, and then he came home. Well, Michael, our second boy, didn't want to go to college. He wanted to go in, get his 2 years over with, and then come back. And there was no way of changing his mind. So he went in, there were 3 fellows, they all went in together for their boot training. And after that, Michael came home for a month for a furlough. And then he was sent to Vietnam. So he got there in July of '68, and he was killed in November of '68. When people came to the funeral, I don't know what to say to you. I don't know what I would say to anybody else, except that that was what he wanted to do. If he had gone to college and been killed on the highway, like so many young fellows are today, that I would feel that was my fault for forcing him to go to college. And today, I'm sure I feel sorry for the parents, because these kids have so much. Their parents can buy them anything they want, any car they want, this DVD business, all of these, the amount of money that is spent, and yet these kids aren't happy, because they just aren't, they don't know what to do with themselves. So Michael was buried in New Baltimore at St. Mary's Cemetery. The town people said it was the biggest funeral they'd ever seen. He was a likable guy. He had a paper out, and he knew everybody up and down the street, and everybody knew him. And when we came back from the cemetery, when we came up our street, everybody had a flag out. You know, these are kind of things that make you know, how much people meant to us in helping us. I want to get back with this girl that's got.
Is that a picture of your
Oh,
son?
yes. What?
You must be very
This
close.
is Michael. Oh, now he's on the intercom with not the intercom, on the internet for the Vietnam Wall. Oh gosh, what's the name of that printing company? It's right over here on Garfield. Oh, they do all kinds of
Oh,
printing.
Kinko's?
Oh. They offered to have anybody come in, and this is what I went. I sat down at the computer. I'd never sat at a computer before. They put this picture up on, and all of a sudden here's Michael right in front of me on the computer. And they do all these things and so on, and ask me questions about him and so on. And then they ran it through the printer and gave me the copy of what they had just done. Now, a boy that was in with Michael, they were in Fort Knox, Kentucky, and a boy tried to find Michael's parents. So there were 3 William Cromies that he contacted. Well, one was us. So my daughter got on the internet right away and let him know that he had who we were and so on. I I'm anxious to meet this boy. My Kathy has done email with him, and so he seems like such a nice guy. Evidently, Michael went to their home because he lived quite close to the camp, and he said how much fun Michael was, and he was just a happy guy. He was happy when he was little, and he was happy when he was young, and he loved the girls, he loved to dance, and so it's a big disappointment when you lose a child. Last night, Danny Thomas's daughter, I can't think of her name.
Marlo.
Was it Marlo?
Marlo.
Oh, Marlo, that's right. I thought somebody said Barbara last night, but that's not right. Did you happen to see the
I
program?
just saw part of it.
You know, I took the number down because I don't want to be bothered monthly. I would rather give a check and so on. But when you see what some of these children are faced with, and we are so lucky when we have healthy children, because they can do anything that if they have their health. My oldest son now just had lymphoma. He started out with a sore under his arm, and all the lymph nodes were affected. And he had chemo, lost his hair. It was quite something to go through, but I thought about it last night, that there isn't enough to tell the people about these children at St. Jude's Center. That's just like with this World War II memorial. Somebody's got to get up there and talk about it, get people interested in it to understand what's going on.
Can we get back a little bit when you were in the service, and you spent all your time at Camp Lejeune? Did you get time off like the men had furloughs?
Oh yes. I came home right sorry about that. Right after I was commissioned, and I went to meet this captain, and he said, Lieutenant Jocks, if you want any time off, you take it right away. So I could get 2 weeks off right then. So I went back to the barracks and I packed up some things because some of the girls were leaving on a bus to go up to Washington. They were going to be assigned up there. So I had 2 weeks home then with my mother and my family. In fact, that's right. I was on my dad's boat in my summer uniform, but of course that was the enlisted. I have some pictures here that show the girls. Here's one. Here's Marion Hopper. She was from Washington, D.C. We were lined up in the barracks by alphabetical. My name was Jocks, so she was right next to me. And we became very good friends. But she was on a lot of the ads because she was so photogenic. There's another girl here that went in with me. I should have changed the mark better. These shows, can't see it. Just an idea. This is motor transport. All the girls. Now, how am I getting it? I'm not getting it in the right place, am I? Motor transport, how the girls learned all about doing all they have to do. This is the girl, one of the 10. Bernice Ewald was her name. She's right down in here, and she was very photogenic. And so she was in a lot of the pictures. She's on the other end, isn't she? Yes.
Now, when you were in Camp Lejeune, I know you said the women were separate and everything. Was there ever any time that the men and the women Marines came together?
they allowed us to go to their, what do they call it? You had to be a sergeant or above to get in there. Non-commissioned club, they called it.
Okay.
And at first we weren't allowed, but then a few months later, why they allowed the women Marines. So we could go and they'd have beer and pop, dancing. I guess they just had jukeboxes because there weren't any bands. But we were also busy. Like on weekends, you did your washing. That was another thing in the barracks that what they had to do. They had these great big washing machines. Then for dryers, I've never seen anything like it. They're huge machines, right, almost up to the ceiling. And you pull one of the wires, I'll call it. And they have all the round, I'm sorry, I can't think of the word. But anyhow, you can lay your clothes over to dry them.
Okay.
And so we had to clean our own apartments. We got to the point that after I was an officer, they built 2 new buildings just for the officers. We had a beautiful kitchen that was never used. It had every kettle, spoon, whatever, but it was never used. But we used the walk-in cooler because we go to the commissary or we go into town and get snacks and so on, and we keep them in the walk-in freezer. But I think that the officers mix more with the men than the enlisted girls. I suppose because of not having a bill. I think the non-commissioned officers club was the only one that they had. Now they could have had, because the camp was so big, and like I say, we were in Area 5. So whatever they had up in Area 1, I had no idea. So I suppose some of the women went up there, but it was quite a walk, because we didn't have any buses or streetcars or cars. We had a bus that would take us to the officers' club. It would came right around the officers' barracks and take us up there. We'd go up there swimming. They had a beautiful pool. And Saturday night was a fun night. Dancing. They usually had an orchestra. But you talk to some of these fellows, they were shipping up the next day or the next week. Or they just came back and they don't want to talk about where they've been. You could tell right away, when they say, we just came back. You don't ask them any questions. I think that's the way it was with my husband too. He never had any problems, but all what they had to go through. Just when I think of it with Iraq, these young fellows that are over there. My son-in-law's nephew is there right now, and he's living in one of the palaces. They know they won't ever bomb that building. And so the boys are all living there and using their beautiful bathrooms, and so that's quite an experience.
And when you were in the Marines, were you accepted by the male Marines?
Oh yes, oh yes. We get kidded, know. There was always jokes.
Sure.
But no, and I never had any problems with the captain I worked for. The head of the quartermaster department was a captain, and he had me over at his home for dinner one night, and they accepted us very well.
And I think you said that one of the mottos was free up a Marine. What was that again?
Free a Marine to fight.
Okay, and so that was the role of the women, so the men would be able to go and fight.
No, so they were the two that I believe were just sitting at desks. The girls did all the work, and they signed their names or whatever had to be done. I think the captain had he signed the checks because I had to go through quite a bit through Washington. They had to check my background and everything else to allow me to sign checks like I did. But,
So it sounds like overall it was a pretty positive experience for you.
oh, yes, yes, yes. But on the other hand, I was very lucky. I just hit it at the right time to go in and go to Camp Lejeune and go into quartermaster, and I knew what I was doing, and I knew how to balance a sheet. Like at the end of the month, the girls didn't know anything about that. And but I enjoyed it. I wished I had gone back sometime just to see what it looks like now. The buildings were very well. I didn't show you here, right here. This is the buildings at Camp Lejeune. Now the one up here is the guardhouse. That's where they drive through. Now the one over in this corner is the building that I worked in. And that was building number 2. And down on the bottom here is, if you get that in there the right way, that was building 1. That's where the commandant of the camp worked and all the big shots.
And do you have any favorite memory of the time you served?
Oh gosh, lots of. I met a girl from Oregon. This was after we were officers. She lived across the hall from me, and we became very good friends. And after the war, she went back to Oregon, got married her boyfriend. They had 3 boys. And we have corresponded every year for all those years. And when I go through the mail and see hers, that was the first one I'd pull out because I'd want to find out what had happened to them that year. So one time, she had been in charge of the Women Marine Band. And they met every 5 years. So she wrote to me and said they were coming to Ann Arbor. She said, are you anywhere near there? Well, I wrote back right away. You tell me when you're coming and where you will be, and I will be there. So she did. And my daughter said, Mother, I'll take you. So she was just to be, this girl's name was Marion Murphy, but we all called her Murph. She had a terrific sense of humor. So Kathy and I get to this I suppose called a motel where the girls were staying. So I went up to the desk and I told her, she said, oh, they're in that building practicing right now. So Kathy and I walked down there. We walked in, and the girls that were still in the band were practicing. So this one girl said to me, can I help you? And I said, I'm looking for Murph. And here she was sitting right up. Well, of course, I had no idea what she looked like. And she had no idea what I looked like. We both looked at each other and we laughed. But we had the best time just reminiscing, remember this, remember that.
What year was that?
44.
Oh,
when was the reunion?
Oh, when was the union? About 6 years ago.
Oh, so it was a long time after.
Oh yes, oh yes, I should have thought about that, what year it was. But her one boy, I got, as I say, I wrote for her envelope as I go through my cards so the mail would come in. And I saw one, and it had Portland, Oregon address. I knew it was not her writing. And it was her son to tell me that she had passed away that year. Her husband had passed away about 8 years before that. Then I have another girl that I said when she told me she was going to the Marines, I said, I'll go in the Marines with you.
Mm-hmm.
But she married her boyfriend when the war was over. And they never had any family, and they both worked here in Detroit area. And then they retired and moved out to Arizona. And last year I get a card from him that she passed away. A girl that had been in recruiting here in Detroit lived with my mother for about 3 years. So we got to know Mort very well. She was anxious to see the new Women's Memorial, and she did get to go to see it. She lived in Florida. And she had written, we've talked about it, a Christmas card. Well, I hope you get there this year, she would say. Well, she did. She got there to see it and wrote and told me all about it. So then I get a letter from one of her friends that she passed away. And then one of this Hopper, all of a sudden I haven't heard from her, so you just wonder if they don't want to write anymore or if something happened. But,
So you made a lot of good, lasting friendships.
oh, yes. My best friend was the secretary to the commandant of the base. And she'd met a fella, so they decided to get married. And they're both Catholic, and I'm Catholic, so they were married in the Catholic chapel. And I was stood up for her. I didn't have a white dress uniform. I didn't need it. I wasn't going anyplace. So I borrowed one from one of the girls. So I have a picture of me in the summer white uniform. And we corresponded after the war. She had twins, and then she had another boy. And then all of a sudden I get a telegram that she passed away. And I don't know if he thought I would come. I didn't, a telegram. Maybe it was the easiest thing for him to do right at that time. But she died of cancer, and that was, I think, the first time I've heard of anybody close to me that died of cancer. So, that's...
Now, you told us all your positive experiences. Did you have was there any one experience that was not positive, or one memory that was not really good about when you were in the service?
I don't know of any outside of when we got into Grand Central Station. We had to carry our own luggage. I think that was the only time I could say that, and of course we weren't prepared for it.
Right.
If we had known, well, we would have either, I don't know what we would have done, because we all needed, I wore out everything I took. I sent my luggage back home, but I just said to Mother, take it to the Goodwill, maybe somebody can help somebody. But really, I don't know. I never had any problems. My girls were so good. I was very proud of them because they're from all walks of life and from different parts of the country, and living together and working together. I never heard any arguments or fights or anything.
That's good.
So,
Now, you were a lieutenant, and you said your husband was a sergeant. Did that ever cause a problem that you outranked your husband?
we have a group that meet every month for lunch. And so after this doing Armistice Day, I took the pictures in to show everybody. So this one fellow said, Roseanne, what did Bill say when you got off the airplane? Because he knew. And I said, he didn't know if he should hug me or salute me. And that was a big joke.
I bet.
He was Irish, and he always, those darn Marines, I had to salute her all the time.
And
But-
so with the women, it's just like the man, once a Marine, always a
Oh,
Marine,
yes.
right?
Oh, yes. Yes. And like I say, I never even heard of the Marines. I mean, I suppose I did read something in the paper about them or something, but it never clicked with me. But I was sure happy I went because, like I say, I was lucky. I was lucky all the way through. And that's, I feel sorry for the young girls that they get into today because it's going to be such the discipline is so hard on them to break that down on the kids, you know what I mean? I think the boys that go into the Marines have a hard time adjusting to it because they're not used to that terribly strict discipline. You can't do this and you have to be straight.
Sure.
And,
Sure.
some of the activities that they put through, you know, the crawling, we never had to,
Right.
but
Well, I'm glad that it was a positive experience, and it's been certainly a pleasant experience talking with you today. I think that unless you have anything more to tell us, I
No,
think,
I think I pretty well covered everything.
well, and it's been a very
yeah.
interesting,
Well, thank you for
story.
having me. I had an interesting life, and I'm glad to tell it.
Very good.
And even when I gave my uniform to the Historical Society, I told them my heart's going with this. But I even kept took my emblems and put them on the hat and on my gold bars. And that's the way I wanted them to remember me by.
Great. Thank you so much, Roseanne.
Well, thank you. Good luck with all the other ones from here on in.
Thank you.